Hello, and I'm going to be doing a review of the film 2012. I say review, I think it's going to be more of a rant, because it was terrible. There was a couple good things in it, but in general, it was a terrible film. It's a disaster film, so I wasn't expecting much, but at 3 hours long, you would expect... well, what you expect with a normal disaster film is some good, interesting enough characters that you care about them, and lots of effects. It had lots of effects, obviously. Near the end, it kind of almost got a bit low budget, kind of made for TV film near the end, with just terrible, acting from, bit parts, like one-off lines and stuff from people, and that they just weren't very good at all. But I just start by the fact they tried to make something bit different by making the world come to an end in a different way than usual. Obviously, usually, how many times has a comet hit the Earth in a disaster film? Lots. But there's a reason why they use a comet or a meteor, because it's quick. They can have all the action happen and have all the stuff get resolved by the end of the film, which makes sense because obviously it hits, and well, obviously in a realistic way it would kick up a lot of dust and we'd have to survive all the plants dying and stuff, but what can you do? But in this film they tried to do something different, but it was shit. I think their reasons was the neutrinos or some kind of particle was mutating, and that made the Earth heat up, not just over years or thousands of years like it would normally, like overnight pretty much. And obviously scientifically it's impossible for the whatever, I can't remember what it was, they were now neutrinos or whatever, to mutate in the first place. So they had 3 hours to play and make a good scientific reason for the end of the world, and they really didn't do much with that at all. Like, they spent 5 minutes and spent probably less thinking about it before they actually did it on camera. And then obviously the characters, you got 3 hours to build the characters up, make them interesting. Did they? No. You had your typical dad who's divorced, who doesn't get to see his kids very often. The wife's new boyfriend is a bit of a sleazy asshole, and that is pretty much it for the characters. I must say the only interesting character is Woody Harrelson's character, who's a bit of a nutcase, and he made it his own. But that didn't. But that's again another thing with the film. They tried to. It was kind of made to be a comedy disaster film, but it didn't work because you just didn't know whether you should be laughing or crying at parts. It just didn't work at all. And some other obviously bits that really were pretty annoying were like the sleazy asshole boyfriend of the main character's wife. He had a few hours training on a plane. Now obviously the plane, the hardest parts are switching the engines on and taking off and landing. Those are the hardest parts. But he took off and couldn't seem to understand how to pull the plane up. So he spent the next half an hour pretty much skimming the tops of cars and skimming the tops of cars and dodging buildings that are falling down. Oh, it just aggravated me so much. It was so stupid. And then they landed the plane and was trying to find another plane, a bigger plane, to take them where they wanted to go. And there was thousands of people around, knowing that the world was pretty much coming to an end. And they just left these planes standing there while they argued a lot. Now you think someone would be trying to steal these planes as they were having a little conversation, but no, they didn't do that. Another good bit though, I thought, was that in disaster films the main characters tend to be middle American, God-fearing people, and they talk about praying to God and miracles happening. That's why they get saved at the end, is because they believed in God and stuff like that. And this film did kind of the opposite of that. Two kind of religious bits in the film was the President of the United States. He started making one of the Christian common prayers or whatever near the end of his transmission. That gets cut off, and then he dies about 5 minutes after. Then another bit is where they see Italy and the Vatican, and the Pope comes out, start making, and all these people praying and stuff like that for a miracle, and then the Vatican collapses and lands and squishes the Pope and some of the people below, and I thought that was quite amusing. Also at the end, obviously miracle happens, which is another thing that really annoys me. It's not as bad as they thought, and part of the only part that's livable now is Africa, which obviously, if you know your science, they think humans originated from Africa and we spread out across the world from Africa. So that's another kind of nod to science kind of trumping the religious thing that most disaster films go, oh, it was God that saved us. It wasn't, and this one it was kind of not, no, science helped you there, nothing to do with God type of thing. It's a very, it might not be there, that message, but that's kind of like the thing I got from those little bits that happened in the film. Obviously a lot of people wouldn't link these things together, but that was kind of probably the point. You don't want to piss off a large portion of your audience by saying something like that, so it might not even be there, but that's what I took from it. And yeah, like I said, disaster films, again, they were saying, the earth warmed up in a matter of days, and then suddenly it all disappeared within the same short amount of space of time. No, that wouldn't happen. And again, this is a common feature in disaster films. It wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be. It's alright. There's some ray of hope at the end, but no, not really. That type of thing wouldn't really happen. That's a little bit of a pet peeve. I'd like to see occasionally a disaster film where everyone got wiped out, because if we got hit by a giant meteor, we wouldn't survive. If the sun exploded or started dying, we wouldn't survive. Let's not sugarcoat things all the time. It's not necessary. It's not believable when every disaster film, oh, it's okay, we will survive in the end, it's fine, it wasn't as bad as we thought. Things are as bad as we think sometimes, but that's another pet peeve. So apart from those couple little good bits of the film, this was terrible. It was tried to be a comedy, but disaster film, it just didn't work. So I'd probably give it a 2.5 out of 10 at a stretch. Also watched Dark Skies. I can't give you a full review of that because I can't really remember much about it, other than obviously it's a scary film. It did its job. It was quite good, but there were some slightly less plausible bits, which obviously, it's a horror film, there are unplausible bits. Obviously ghosts aren't real, but if you make a good film, you can believe it in the context of the film. So I'll give you a full review once I've watched that again. Okay, alright, bye bye.